You see, we can have this conversation because we have access to a wide vast of information, books, literature, archival material. And as a result, the contextualization of times past takes time. You know, it's taken 15 years for me to be able to even kind of have this conversation based on books, based on traveling, based on concept, based on my own personal understanding of myself and the journey I've had living on this planet, and looking at how people who look like me are treated, you know, not only because of my skin complexion, but because of my gender, because of my sexual classification, because of my height, because of my features, and looking at how that is correlated to how people are classified and how people have been able to develop societal ideologies that marginalize people like me, or marginalize people like you, or all of us who are individuals, to fit into a model that has been created to subdue the mind from thinking, how do we actually progress, and how do we stop all of these injustices that are taking place on people who look like us in regions all over the world, and continuously distract us from having the conversation that needs to be had to stop that rat blowing on us, and to see what that rat has actually done, or what he has done to our legs. Because some people may not be able to walk again. You know, some may have only few bites or scratches. Some may have lost an entire limb. Some may even not even have a hip bone, and they don't know, because the distractions that we're being given mean that we don't spend enough time looking at ourselves and what's systematically been happening in our environments, but we continue to look forward to what's ahead of us rather than looking at what's happening to us right now. Because although we know we need to go into the past to be able to understand, it's what's happening to us right now that we actually have to deal with. And when we're looking at the past, is looking at the formulas and the structures that have been put in place, why we're feeling these impacts today, and what significance that all of this is going to have in the future if we don't start paying attention. Every country that has been gifted independence has had to sign an Independence Act that relates to the legalities of their former colonial master. And there are rules around that independence, that political independence, which gives autonomy for the Africans or the countries to be able to navigate themselves, but you still answer to the former colonial country. So it's all around the political terms. And as I said to you, if you're going to take yourself away, how do you then put yourself in a position so you are the autonomy to be able to come and sit on the world stage and say, well, we are independent fully. Here are our terms, acknowledge them, and let's work together, without an agreement made between other European powers. So when we look at history, when we look at identity, I think it's important that we literally start looking at our own bloodlines. You know, what connects us, what makes us connect to the lands that we're from and the people that we belong to, and how do we look at what progress looks like as a community based on our education, based on our outreach, and based on looking at all the models of the world that we live in, because we see many models that we feel may work, but as a result of seeing those models that work, we have to look at why they work and what are their reasons for working. So if we're bringing those models back to our peoples, are those models going to work? It's highly unlikely, because the models have been designed for other groups of people. So it's about taking the time to look at our people, look at the world, look at how we want to interact with the world, so we can then create steps or thought processes around how we open that conversation with our people. Because a lot of the things that we also miss out is a lot of things that we develop is to do with class. And people who are classified at the bottom, they do as they are told, not what they are asked to do. And we all have this humanitarian ideology that we're all the same. That is not true. Those who have the authority to say have asserted themselves based on a bloodline or based on an entitlement that they feel they have to be able to be the voice of reason for many others. And as a result of that, their concepts and ideologies are what leads the narrative in regards to how we direct ourselves towards empowerment and change. So when we're looking at ourselves, look at yourself first and foremost, because it's your voice and your narration that will allow us to come together, to work together on a progressive model that is of benefit for all children, all people who have misconceptions, for us to be able to develop first and foremost, to then look at an economical structure of a world that already exists and has put things in place for us to also be able to start building ourselves up to be able to meet that standard.